So for the acid base lab, we're gonna start our red cabbage indicator or purple cabbage indicator, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna tightly set in our purple cabbage. I had already placed a few before I started recording, and so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that it's tightly pressed in there. We're gonna add some distilled water, and then we're gonna heat. What we're trying to do is we're trying to extract the color of the solution, right? So we're gonna place enough to cover it, and then we're gonna place it on top of the heat, and we're gonna try to see if we can extract the color from it, okay? And so we'll let it sit. Once we get, we can't let it go to a boil though, because we might lose some of that water. Add in a little bit more, try to see. Okay. Okay, as you can see, I had already placed it out to cool, and so I went ahead and boiled 2 of them, just to make sure that I had enough solution for our experiment. So I'm going to go ahead and just transfer over our natural cabbage indicator, right? Our red cabbage indicator, and you'll notice that it is purple. Okay, so then okay, so the first thing that we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and make our reference solutions using buffers and our indicator. And before we do all that though, I'm going to measure out 2 milliliters of water, because we're going to have to measure 2 milliliters of the buffer and 2 milliliters of the indicator. So this way I just have a reference and kind of an idea of how much substance I need to add. That way I don't have to continuously keep on measuring 2 milliliters. So I'm gonna get 2 milliliters of water. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in my labeled 2 milliliter container. And so if you notice, I have here a bunch of containers, a bunch of test tubes that are all labeled with a value number, right? And so that's gonna be the pH value of our buffer solutions. And then over here, I have my indicator, right? And so I'm gonna go ahead and pipette out my indicator over here on this test tube on a 2 milliliter increments, and I'm gonna go ahead and add them to all, right? But before we do that, let's go ahead and add our buffers. And so as you can see, hopefully, right? We're gonna start off with buffer number 2. We don't have a 1. I thought we had a 1. Could have sworn I saw a 1, but I guess not. Let's go ahead and start off with buffer 2. So we're gonna add approximately 2 milliliters. And so we have our reference right here. And so here we can pipette, because these pipettes are solely and only for those. So we're gonna get it a pH. Oh, and that's the wrong one. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. We'll just change the label right now. Okay, and that's approximately my 2 milliliter mark. And so I'm gonna go ahead and close my pH buffer number 2. Maybe. Okay. Go ahead and close it. And then remember, I made a mistake. So let's go ahead and add this label 2 over here to the 1, because I messed up. But no harm, no foul, right? So we're gonna go to pH buffer 3. And so we're gonna add approximately the same amount. And so here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and go back. Close our pH buffer 3. And then set it back to its spot. I'm gonna add 4 now. So we're gonna go get it here. So we get our pH buffer 4. Hopefully I'm still recording. Right. I'm gonna go ahead and add good. Let's go ahead and pH buffer 5 now. Alright, pH buffer 5. Let's move our beaker, our test tube back. Let's get number 5 going. This is interesting. There you go. I'm going to go ahead and close our pH buffer 5. Then we do the 6. We return our test tube, get our 6th one. Good to go there. Close our pH buffer 6. And let's go ahead, yes, 7. We put the 6 back, right? Let's get our 7. And we're good to go there. Go to the next one. We're only going to 12, all right? Have a little bit of patience, right? 8. Where is it? 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Yeah. So here we have 8. Good to go there. Let's go to 9. Close it. Put our 8 back. Let's go to 9. All right. Next one is 10. Place our 9 back. Let's go ahead and get our 10. And here we go again, 2 mLs. We're good there. And then we're gonna go to 11 and 12. 10, we're at 11. There we go. Next. Go to 12. And let's go ahead get our pH 12. Right, pH 12. The next thing I'm going to do is just measure out my indicator. Have to measure it out again 12 times, 2 milliliters each, and then go ahead and add it to each of those test tubes, okay? So then I get my indicator test tube. I'm going to get my indicator, and I'm going to go ahead and add it, okay? So we're going to continue adding my indicator. Let me get a pipette so that I can go ahead and transfer. I'm going to go ahead and use a new one. Just need one. I'm going to go ahead and pipette out again 2 milliliters. So we're gonna measure out, and you're gonna notice the purple beautiful solution that we have. And so we have our 2 milliliters. We're gonna go ahead and add that to our first container for our 2, right? So yeah, make sure we. And as I add it, you notice that the color changed to a nice pink. Let's go ahead and add some more indicator because we're gonna go to the next one. And I am recording, right? Yes. And so those are my 2 milliliters. I'm gonna go ahead and add it to the third one. That way you can see the nice little beautiful colors. Okay. Then we're gonna go to the next one. I'm gonna add 2 mils. There we go. Gonna add it to our pH 4. And then let's go to the next one. We're gonna add 2 more milliliters. Oh my God, my knees. Okay, yep, we should be there. We're gonna add it to our pH 5. And then we're gonna go to the next one. Go to our 6. And so there we go. We're gonna add our indicator to pH 6. And then we're gonna go to 7. And as we go to 7, add our indicator. Nice, beautiful color. Let's go to pH 8. Yeah, man, I'm on the money today. pH 8. Ooh. Nice teal color. All right. Let's go to 9. Ooh. Green. And then I'll go ahead and transfer those right now into the green test tube rack because it's a little bit more transparent. All right, let's go ahead and do the 10. We'll go to the next one, which is 11. As we measure out 11, and then lastly, pH 12. Let's just double check. Yeah, we're right there. All right, so there you go. We have all our indicators. And so we'll put our indicator test tube over here because we're gonna need it right now. And so let me go ahead and take it off so that you can see the nice, beautiful colors. So here we're gonna go from left to right. It's gonna be pH 2, pH 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, right? So now let's look at them on the side, right? And so when you look at them from the side, has a nice little accent, right? So let's go ahead and put them over here, like I said. This way they're more accessible visually. And so here we have the 2, here we have the 4, here we have the 5 and 6, or maybe we should keep them there, huh? Can we tell them apart? We'll find out right now. 8, 9, 10, 11. Ooh, there's not even enough spots. Let's go back. Never mind. And so what we're gonna do next is, as we have our standards, what we're gonna do is we're gonna test a bunch of solutions first, and we're just gonna use our natural indicator. And as if you notice, as it goes from pH 2 to pH 12, it goes from a pink to or a bright red into a fuchsia, pink, purple, blue, teal, and then into the green. Okay, so that's how we're gonna determine first, just visually, to see if we can approximate what the pH is, okay, just using a natural indicator. All right, so the next step is we're gonna test a few solutions or a few substances to determine their acidity or basicity, and we're gonna use these reference solutions. Okay, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add a little bit of apple cider vinegar into our beaker. And remember, it's only 2 milliliters, so we don't need that much. If we run into a situation where we have a viscous liquid, such as like the shampoo or conditioner, I'm gonna have to add 2 milliliters of water, which I have over here. And then if I end up with these two solids that we have here, the Tums and the aspirin, I need to crush them first and then transfer them onto the beaker, add 2 milliliters of water as well. And then from there, then that's what we'll be testing. Okay, so let's go ahead and measure out our vinegar. It's gonna be 2 milliliters. And so as we add our vinegar, we'll go ahead and put this back. And then now we're gonna go ahead and add our 2 milliliters of indicator, whoops. So we're gonna go ahead and measure it. And 2 milliliters on the money. So now I'm gonna add my indicator to the vinegar. And now we're gonna compare, right? So remember, this is apple cider vinegar. And so let's go ahead and compare. So could it be number 2, right? Or possibly number 3, right? So I think it's somewhere in between those. So you make your judgment. Here are the 2. Let me go ahead and set them down. Remember, the one in the middle is the vinegar. I'm gonna say it's a little closer to the 2 than it is to the 3. You make your assessment. Remember, here we have our pH, 2 and 3. So that's for vinegar. The next one we're gonna measure out is lemon juice. And so here we have, maybe. So we're gonna add a little bit of lemon juice onto our beaker. And so maybe we should have shooken it, huh? Hold on. So we have our lemon juice. We're gonna go ahead and measure out our lemon juice, 2 milliliters, into our test tube. And so we need a little bit more. We're good there. I'm gonna return this back. So we're gonna need it right now. We'll get our indicator test tube. We're gonna measure out 2 milliliters. And remember, we're using the beaker as a reference, right? I'm sorry, the test tube. Whoops, add a little bit more than I want it. So we're gonna go ahead and mix now. And so as I mix the indicator, I'm gonna go ahead and now compare. And so here we have indicator 2. Whoops, probably not the good spot, right? Need you all to see. Let's go and put this one over here. So indicator 2, the lemon juice is the one in the middle. And here we have these, right? And so I still think, right, it's somewhere between 2 and 3. I believe it's a little closer to 2. As you see the colors, it's a little cloudy just because of the nature of the lemon juice. And of course I didn't shake it, right? That doesn't help. And so make your assessment. Here we have the pHs. Is it closer to 2? Is it closer to 3? Right? Or is it closer to 4? And of course not. All right. So now we're gonna go ahead and do our shampoo. And so we're gonna get a test tube and we're gonna prepare our shampoo solution. So we're gonna get maybe a small amount of shampoo, even though we're still gonna need a little bit. So shampoo, right? Small amount, and since it's slightly more viscous, we wanna kind of add about 2 milliliters of water. No, it doesn't want to add water. Here's my other one. It's looking for you. And so let me go ahead and measure out the milliliters of water. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and add our 2 milliliters of water. We're going to go ahead and mix. And let's go ahead and prepare the other solution as well. So we'll go ahead and do the conditioner one as well. We're gonna get a small amount. Right. Okay, so the other one doesn't want to fall down, right? So we got our conditioner. We're gonna get 2 milliliters of water again. And as we get the 2 milliliters of water, we're gonna go ahead and add it to our make our solution. Okay, and we'll go ahead and add it right now. Alright, so we're good there. So we're gonna add a small sample, right? We said 2 milliliters. So here we have our shampoo sample. Remember, we added 2 milliliters plus the sample of shampoo. Alright, I think we should be good now. Let's go ahead and get our 2 milliliter sample so that we don't have to measure out. We're good there. Ooh, smells fruity. So now we're gonna get our indicator test tube. Gonna measure out. And then we're gonna go ahead and put it into our shampoo. And so as we mix our shampoo, right? What is it closer to? So I'm gonna say it's gonna be in between here. So let me get my indicator out of the way, the water out of the way. And so the shampoo, we're gonna have 5 and maybe 4, right? And so let me, I'll let you be the judge of what the pH should be. So let's go ahead and remove the good stuff. And so here, that one's pH 6, pH 5, and pH 4. You be the judge. Okay. The next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna use our conditioner, right? And so here we have our conditioner solution. we're gonna go ahead and get another test tube. And so as we get another test tube, we're gonna get our reference for the water, and then of course our indicator. We're gonna get our sample of conditioner, and we're gonna measure it out. And so gives us approximately, right, what we need. And then let's go ahead and get our indicator test tube and drop it in there. I'm gonna put about 2 milliliters, give or take. Gonna go ahead and get our test tube, pour it into our conditioner solution. Let's go ahead and mix a little bit. It almost looks like what we currently have, right? So let's separate these two. Let's bring on fourth. So no, not necessarily 5, maybe 6, definitely not 7, right? So I would say the pH for this one would be a lot closer to 6 than 5. You be the judge. Beauty. Let's go ahead and put this back. And then we'll go ahead and do our next sample. Our next sample is going to be mouthwash. So let's go ahead and get the mouthwash. Let's get it ready. I'll get a small sample here. And not so small, right? It's actually bigger than I expected. That's a nice little color. So I'm gonna go ahead and add our 2 milliliters. And then I'm gonna get my indicator next. Set this aside. Remove this. Don't want to break it. Let's go ahead and add our indicator. We got about 2 milliliters. We're gonna put it into our right. And as we mix it, our mouthwash is roughly around pH, I'm gonna say 7, right? Because if we put the purple one, it's too purple for the 6, right? So let's go ahead and put the 7 right next to it. And then if we bring the 8, it's a little too teal, right? So let's go ahead and look at the colors. I'm thinking the mouthwash is gonna be a little closer to pH 7. Let's take those back. And so let's set up our next one. Our next one's gonna be the melted magnesia, right? The antacid. Let's see what it has. Yeah, it's a little bit of aluminum hydroxide, magnesium hydroxide, and some acetone. So we're gonna go ahead and determine what our liquid antacid is. Now this is a somewhat of a suspension, I would say so. So you do have to take it, you do have to shake it up before you use it. Milk of magnesia. Let's go ahead and send it back to its location. And so now what we're gonna do is, since we have our sample, we're gonna get another test tube. We're gonna set it in the middle, get our measuring sample, right? And we're gonna go ahead and add our sample of the antacid, the liquid one, the suspension one. Oh, I could have maybe added some water. I didn't think it was that thick. Oh well. one more addition and we should be there. Okay, we set this back so it doesn't get in our way. We're gonna get our indicator. Go ahead and add it to our milk of magnesium solution. And let's go ahead and mix it if we can. It's not cooperating, right? We get a color. Get a nice little color. So let's go ahead and find out where that color is. So we get, I'm gonna bring out this one, maybe this one, this one. I think it's more of that one, huh? So let's see, let me bring this one. I'm thinking it's more that, right? Than the other ones, or maybe the 8 one. I think it goes more with the 11 one. Make your judgment. Let's go ahead and test our next solution. Whoops, wrong way. That one over there. That one that way. The next solutions, we're gonna, since they're solids, we're gonna have to crush them. It's gonna be the Tums and the aspirin, and we're gonna go ahead and crush them and then make a solution with 2 milliliters, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and get a Tums, and we're supposed to crush it. So we're gonna use a Tesla motor. The Tums, gonna go ahead and crush it. As we crush it, we're just trying to increase and maximize the surface area so that the solubility is a little bit easier. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, it smells like Kool-Aid. So we're gonna go ahead and transfer this substance. We get a, let's see. Okay, so we get a small sample. Not so small, right? Let's go ahead and add some back over here. No, it doesn't want to come out anymore. I got a little too happy there. So as we make our solution, I'm gonna go ahead and measure out 2 milliliters of water. As we do so, we're gonna go ahead and mix it into our solid. We're gonna go ahead and make a solution. Now remember that this is the antacid, the Tums, 1,000 milligrams. And so now what we're gonna do is get another test tube. Gonna go ahead and test our Tums solution. All right. Let's go ahead now and add our indicator. And as we add our indicator, I'm gonna add it to our Tums solution. As we add it, let's go ahead and bring our reference says. I'm gonna say it's gonna be, well, no, I don't know. No, it's a little bit more purple than pink. I'll go ahead and move it one over, that way we have all of them right there. And so, as you can see here, our Tums solution is next to the 6. So here we have pH of 6, and 5. If I bring the 7 out, that one's too dark. So make your judgment. We have the 4 pHs there. I don't really think it's like this. I think it's more a 5 or a 6. Make your assessment. Okay, so the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna get aspirin and we're gonna go ahead and crush it. So here we have the aspirin. We're gonna do the same thing because it's a solid. And so here we go. Crush it, the rest of the quarter. Don't want to get too much of a fine powder because then I won't be able to pick it up. So we'll get a small little sample here into our beaker. Set that on this side. And I could get a spatula, right? But I'm not gonna get up again. All right. So as we have our sample, I'm gonna measure out 2 milliliters. We get our 2 milliliters. We're gonna create our solution of the aspirin. So we have our aspirin. Again, like I said, something happened to my camera. So we have the aspirin sample here. So we're just gonna add the indicator. And we measured it out. As we measured it out, we're gonna put it into our substance. And as it mixes with the aspirin, let's go ahead and measure. You make your decision. It is the aspirin in the middle right here. pH 2, pH 3, and pH 4. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do the quantitative analysis to determine the pH of the same substances. The only thing is that we're gonna use a pH electrode, okay? The last thing that we're gonna do is gonna be a 2-part section. We're gonna do 4 test tubes, and in these 4 test tubes, I'm gonna add 10 milliliters of water, 10 milliliters of the sodium chloride solution, 10 milliliters of the pH 2 solution, and 10 milliliters of the pH 11. So we need a high and low pH, and then we're gonna test it. The first part, we're gonna test it using 0.1 molar hydrochloric acid. We're gonna add, I believe it says 5 drops to each, and then we're gonna record what happens. But first and foremost, before we forget, we also have to add our indicator, okay? So let's go ahead and start, right? We're gonna add 10 milliliters of water. And as we slowly but surely add our 10 milliliters of water, and we are there. Gonna go ahead and pour into our first test tube. And like I said, we don't necessarily have to use these test tubes since we already have the 10 milliliters. Let's go ahead and use that as a reference. So we'll just go ahead and pipette our pH 2 solution. So this will be water, right? The next one is gonna be our pH 2 solution. All right, so pH 2. We're about there. So then let's go ahead and add our sodium chloride solution. And as we have our sodium chloride solution, like I said, we're going to take it to the same height. So this is our salt solution, 0.1 molar. And so these are all clear, right? Once we start adding our indicator, then we'll know, right? And we'll separate by 1 our pH 11. So I'll go ahead and set it up this way, that our test tubes are going to be water, pH 2, sodium chloride, and then our pH 11. So just to reaffirm or reconfirm that I did record the previous section, just kind of beat on me. So what we're going to do now is I added 10 milliliters of waters in the first test tube, then pH 2, then my sodium chloride 0.1 molar solution, and then 0.11. So they're in the same order. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2 milliliters of my indicator to each one. And so the first one's going to be my water. And so I added 2 milliliters. And the next one, I'm going to add another 2 milliliters, but this one's going to be my pH 2 buffer. All right, let's go ahead and mix. And then I'm going to add 2 milliliters to the sodium chloride solution. All right. And then lastly, I'm going to add 2 more milliliters to my pH 11 solution. Okay. So here we have, right, we said we had water, pH 2 solution. Here we have our sodium chloride solution, and then of course our pH 11 solution. So now what I'm going to do, it says here that I'm going to add 5 drops of 0.1 molar hydrochloric acid solution to each of the 4 test tubes and mix, and then I'm going to determine the pH using my references in the back, right? So I'm going to add 5 drops, it says. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so it says to go ahead and mix, right? It's crazy that it separates. And then here, so let's go through, right? I think this is more it right here. And then here, it's probably gonna be this one and this one. Or let me check number 4, right? Number 4. No, number 4 is more like this one. That one's more like number 3. And then for the green one, no, we're still at the 11, right? Yeah, we're still at the 11. Okay, so let's go add another 5 drops. And then again, determine what happens here. So we're gonna add another 5 drops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just another one, just in case. 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and mix some more. Alright, so after the addition, what tends to happen, if you notice here, this one's about a pH 8 now. As you can see, pH 8 for the buffer 11. The 2, we're still here with the pH 2 buffer because we added more acid. About this one now, I'm going to say it's at about a 3 still, right? And then for the water, maybe a 4. Nope, not a 4 anymore. It's going to be at about a 3, I believe. Yeah. There you go, pH 3 for the sodium chloride solution. For the water, we said approximately the same, right? And then pH 2 buffer is still around pH. And then for this one, as we added the acid, we are at a, no, we said what, an 8, right? Yeah, we're at about an 8. Okay. Now we're going to do the same process. The only thing is that this time, instead of adding acid, we're going to add drops of sodium hydroxide. Going to do the same process. We have 4 test tubes. The only thing that's going to change is that instead of it being acid, the drops of acid being added, we're going to add the base. So we're going to go ahead and measure our sample again of 10 milliliters of water, and then based off of that, we're just going to go ahead and measure the other ones and eyeball it. Okay. All of this experiment anyways is going to be qualitative, right? We're just trying to see the effects, the observations. I keep using the wrong one, huh? That's why I struggle. Okay, so right there we're at 10 milliliters. So we're gonna go ahead and add it to our first test tube. And so that's the first one, water. Second thing we're gonna do is gonna add our pH 2 buffer to our test tube. And we're gonna add the same amount. All right, next one. It's gonna be the sodium chloride solution. So we already have it out. Add to our test tube. I have to add a little bit more. No big deal. Wasteful. And we're good there. Now we're going to get our pH 11 and we're going to fill it into our last test tube. As we get our sodium hydroxide solution that is back here, right? We're gonna add 5 drops to each, but before we do so, we're gonna go ahead and add our indicator. We gotta add 2 milliliters. So once we add our indicator, so remember that is water. The next one is going to be our pH 2 buffer. And then we're going to go ahead and add it to our salt solution. And then lastly, our pH 11 buffer. And so hopefully you can see, right, the colors that it turns. So again, we're gonna have our water, pH 2 buffer, and then our salt solution, our pH 11 buffer. So now we're gonna get our sodium hydroxide, and we're gonna go ahead and add 5 drops to each, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, whoops. Maybe I added more than that. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and stir. If you notice. Okay, so for my pH, the water, right, I would say the sodium chloride solution would be 9. Let's check out the 10 one. Oh, there you go, 10. Oh, maybe 10. Or I don't know. That one looks more like a 10. This one looks more like a 9. And then 11. What's this one? No. And then for my buffer, we're at about a 2 still. So let's go ahead and add another 5 drops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, we go ahead and mix. Man, this pH. All right. And no, I think we're still at 11 for this one, or maybe, are we here? No, how about here? Nope, I think we're still at 11. A hint of it off. Here we're at 10. This one probably as well. And then for this one, here we're at 2. No, I'm gonna say 3. Maybe a 3 here. Okay. So there you go. The effects of the base now on these substances. Like we said, for this one, I'm gonna say it's a 10. All right, pH buffer 10. Also for this one. For this one, I think we're still at an 11, maybe a little less, and or a little bit more. And then this one, I'm gonna say it's around 3, because when we put the 4, I think the 4 is gonna be too dark, too purplish. Okay, so that's it for this one. Then the next one, the next lab is gonna be acid-base titrations.